I was a young, in love. When are we gonna see each other again? 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, holding flowers like a fool because I was so in love. And you know what? She actually showed up. Listen, that's when I knew she is not just my friend. She is actually saw me more than a friend too. You know, the reason I even want to talk about this because I've been around the block a few times. I'm not that old, but I've been married for almost 40 years now. And out of those 40, more than 30 we spent pastoring, leading a church, sitting with people, listening to their stories, watching relationships start, grow, sometimes crash, yes, and sometimes thrive. So when I speak, I'm not speaking as some relationship guru sitting on pedestal. I'm just a guy who lived it, made mistakes, seen a lot, and wants to pass on that kind of wisdom that comes from both my own journey and from watching countless others. And here's the thing, this is not theory. These are practical lessons I've had to learn in real time, sometimes, yes, the hard way. And the reason I can call it wisdom is because what I'm sharing lines up with the scripture. It is in God's word. Now, I get it. If you are not a Christian, that might sound foreign. You might even roll your eyes. But hear me out, please. God did not give us the Bible just to make us feel spiritual on Sundays. He gave it to us as a guidebook for life, for relationships, for how to build something healthy and lasting. And this is important because sometimes by the time people get married, the damage is already done. Not that it's impossible to fix, but rebuilding is always harder than building it right from the start. That's why I tell people it is better to preset than to reset. It's better to prepare and lay the foundation before the walls are cracking. My wife, Vera, and I, we made it our mission to help couples flourish. We have worked with so many couples who were right on the brink of divorce, hanging by a thread. And let me tell you, divorce is not some small side issue. It's an epidemic these days. It's tearing families apart. And what is heartbreaking is that with this new generation, so many young people don't even want to fight for their marriage. Most of the time, it's not because they are bad people. It's because nobody ever showed them there is another way. That's why we created the Reset Point Intensive, to help couples reset and rebuild when things are falling apart. But here's what we've started to notice after working with couple after couple. Most of the problem did not begin in a marriage. They started way back in the dating season. Nobody actually told them dating was a preparation for marriage. Nobody explained that dating is not just about butterflies and late night texts. It's about building, it's about learning, it's about discovering who the other person really is. If you don't treat dating as a discovering stage, you end up dragging all of those unresolved issues right into your marriage. And then you are shocked when things start breaking down. That's why I tell people all the time, date the right way. Date with purpose. Dating is such a way that it's easy to discover, you know what, we are not for each other, or yes, this is it. This is the person I want to run the long race with. Because when you do it right, dating becomes the filter, not the problem you carry into forever. And let me add one more thing, because this is the big one. I've noticed a lot of people are actually afraid to date. I'm not talking about teenagers now who don't know how to talk to each other. I'm talking about people who are 30, 35, even 40 years old. They don't know how to start dating because they are scared that every date has to end in marriage. Like if you grab coffee with somebody and suddenly you are shopping for rings. No, 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 that's not how it works. You know, my friend, dating can be a really beautiful season if you approach it in the right way. I know this from my personal experience. Vera and I started very young. We were not Christians yet, and we did not have a clue about the right way to date. But even then, we had our season of falling in love, of figuring each other out, and honestly, it shaped us. We were just teenagers. Now, some people who are older might think, well, I missed out. I'm past that age. There is no point of dating now. But that's not true. Dating is not just about romance or fireworks. It's all important. But really, it's about building a relationship. It's about learning if you can actually walk through life together. So here, what I want us to do. I want to show you the best way to build a relationship step by step. I believe there are 4 stages. And if you walk through each of them the right way, you are not only going to enjoy dating, you are going to set yourself up for a marriage that lasts. Let's take them one at a time. So do you want to hear about these 4 stages? Now I get it. When you start breaking a relationship down into stages, it can sound like a classroom lecture. I understand. Too structured, too neat. And honestly, relationships don't feel neat. They feel messy. They feel mystical, unpredictable, like a roller coaster where you don't know if you are about to scream, to laugh, or, or throw up. But the truth, it's less like a roller coaster and more like standing in line in Disney. At first, it's very exciting. Then it drags you and you start thinking, why am I even here? But if you stick to it, you will get to the right, and it's all worth it. That's how relationships work. There are stages, and they matter. If you try to skip them or shuffle them around out of order, it is like skipping the tutorial in a video game. You think you are saving time, but in reality, you are setting yourself up for a frustration later. So here's the deal. Before marriage, there are 3 stages. Then marriage itself makes the 4th. And I'm going to walk you through them one by one, tell you how long each should last, and explain why timing is actually matters. Because if you honor the order, if you actually go through the process, you set yourself up for relationship that lasts. Okay, I know I'm repeating myself, so let's roll. Stage number 1 is very simple. It's called friends. You should always start with friendship. Think of friendship as a free trial period. This is where you get to see the glitches, the quirks, the late night, I'm tired, cranky version of somebody, before you decide if you really want the full subscription. And here's the truth. If you cannot be friends, you are not going to survive as anything else. Friendship is where you figure it out if you can laugh together, if you can pray together, if you can just hang out without needing fireworks or flirting. It's the stage when you learn whether you actually enjoy each other's company. For me, that's what's kept the marriage alive all those 40 years. Because my wife is my best friend and she is absolutely amazing. I never get bored with her. I don't get tired of being around her, even when she is cranky. Because she is more than my wife. She is my best friend. And that friendship, that foundation, is what allowed us to become lovers without losing the deeper bond that really lasts. You know, one of our favorite sitcoms has always been Friends. Now, obviously, it's not Christian, it's secular, and I consider myself as Chandler Bing. But it's so fun to watch how those characters all start out just hanging around each other. They're not pretending. You can tell half of the time they are checking each other's out while talking about coffee or whatever else was trendy back then. And when some of them eventually ended up as a couple, it felt natural because the friendship was already there. But here's what matters. Friendship is the safest zone to begin with. No pressure, no expectation, and if it's real, if it's genuine, it becomes the best foundation you could ever have. Because the truth is, if you cannot be friends, you cannot be anything else. Remember that. Now, stage one does not really have a set time frame. Friendship can last years. I've seen people who were friends half of their lives before realizing, okay, there is something more here. But you do need enough time to actually know each other, to see how you both handle real life. Not just couple of quick conversation and all done. For most people, a few months of real friendship is enough to build on. That way, when you step into stage two, you are not standing on feelings alone. You've got something solid underneath. Stage two is exciting. It's when you move from being just friends to finally calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. And that's a huge step. But it's also where things can get both fun and messy. Because dating has this way of throwing logic straight out of the window and letting hormones drive the car. I will give you an example. I was a young, in love, and running on nothing but adrenaline and hormones. One night after we've spent the evening together, Vera asked me a simple question. So when are we gonna see each other again? It was already close to midnight and I blurred out 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Main Square, Lenin Monument. And sure enough, there I was at 7 a.m. in the morning, holding flowers like a fool, because I was so in love. Now, did it make any sense? Absolutely not. It was not logic. It was just falling in love stage. And you know what? She actually showed up. 7 a.m. Listen, that's when I knew she is not just my friend anymore. She is actually saw me more than a friend too. And that's what stage 2 feels like. Completely irrational, but full of energy. In this stage, you start paying attention to everything. You are writing 3-hour texts, all in caps, staying on the phone until you fall asleep, right? And analyzing emojis like you're working in a CIA decoding lab. She sent me a smiley, but not the heart. What does it mean? Is she mad? Are we breaking up? Should I call my mom? No, my friend, that's called dating. But here's why this stage is so important. It's not just about butterflies. It's where you discover if your values are actually line up, if your dreams are going into the same direction, if you share more than just attraction to each other. It's about asking the deeper questions. Who am I? Who are you? And can we build something together? And yes, you've got to guard the kind of closeness that belongs only in marriage. But your hearts and your souls need to connect deeply enough that you can truly discover each other. That means testing your connection in real life, holidays, family interactions. Believe me, you will learn more about someone by simply watching how they handle a flat tire situation than you will over 20 fancy dinners. You will never forget those little defining moments, like when he introduces her to his parents and she suddenly realizes, I'm not just a friend anymore, I am the girlfriend. Those are the moments that change everything. And honestly, you don't really know someone until you've seen them close up in all kind of situation, the good and the bad, because that's what marriage is going to be made of. Now, here's a rule. Dating should not last forever. Some people stretch it out for years. But if you've been together 6 months, you already know if this is going somewhere. Sure, maybe it takes up to a year if you are being cautious or if you are in a long distance situation. But beyond 12 months, why? If you are still trying to figure it out after 2, 3, 4, even 5 years, you are not really dating anymore. You are not friends. You are not fiancé. You are not moving forward. You are drifting. And drifting only creates problems. So yeah, I am passionate about relationships. I care about those first two stages, friends and then boyfriend and girlfriend stage, because they set the whole tone for what comes after. And the next two stages, they are even more important. That's why I'm going to stop right here and make this part 1. So if you are tracking with me, make sure to catch part 2 when it comes out. And listen, if you ever need help in your relationship, whether you are still in a dating stage of your life or you are already married, please reach out. I'm not an expert and my wife is not a guru, but together we've been through so much and we've helped enough couples to know that there is a light in the end of the tunnel.